We are living in a world that is so broken, and with people whose priorities are clearly in the wrong places and on the wrong things. For while we clamor and make a lot of noise, we neglect the real pandemic going on with our families, our young people. Depression are on the increase. Clearly, there is a mental health pandemic going on, and we need to pay attention before it's too late.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Msingi Africa Television. I am your host, Choma Phillips, and today we are joined again by Shibero Akatsa.
Hi!
We're so glad to be back in the Garden of Eden. And remember we told you last time that Shibero has many levels and layers to her. Today we're here to uncover another one. And that's the area of mental health and wellness, which she is not only an expert, but exceedingly and extremely passionate about, because she wants to see people, you and me, set free from some of the shackles we don't even know that we have in our minds that are causing a lot of depression, right?
Absolutely.
And all sorts of issues. And it's not a Western problem. Now it has found its way to our beloved Africa, so we have to move and act swiftly.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting us.
Very nice introduction. I love it.
Hey,
Thank you.
tell us about your journey in mental health and wellness.
Wow. Oh, this journey started a long time ago, actually. When I was little, imagine the ages of 6, 7, I realized that, you know what? Things are not fair.
Yes.
Things are not fair. And a lot of it at the time I saw was sort of an oppression with women, which pushed them into a state of depression, even though I didn't understand at the time that it was called depression. But as I started growing older and older, I was a tomboy. I loved climbing trees. I loved riding bikes. I loved climbing walls. And I didn't see why I shouldn't be able to do those things. I was just a child, you know. Not that I don't love climbing trees even now, if I could. but already there were those discrepancies where I felt, because I was a woman, a bit more oppressed. I wanted to have that freedom that my brothers had. And around that same time, I started hearing stories about a cousin of mine who had been quite a high flyer, and something had happened and she'd had a breakdown. And that was it. She was taken up country. Story finished.
What?
Yeah. She was removed from town, taken up country, and that was it. Then I've been through depression myself a number of times, but coming back to the mental health side of things. So here I was, a little child. So as I was growing up, going through school and everything, I seemed to notice these things that push people down. And when I went to the US to study, one of the things that I studied was psychology. I was just drawn to that, to the inner person. Coming back from the US, I got into clinical psychotherapy, mental health, but that was in the UK now. I'd gone out there. And I was getting more and more interested. So I got involved and studied again things like family therapy, alcohol and drugs abuse, and was exposed to a lot of mental illnesses as well as stress, because you know stress can actually really push you in something like depression. So that was my journey to date, and I've worked for the last 24 years within mental health, especially working with women because they're the ones who've been coming to see me most because of the issues that they've had within an urban environment where you're trying to juggle children, you're trying to juggle a family, you're trying to juggle work, you're trying to juggle
Am I good enough? Am I a real woman?
Do I have the car? Do I have the house? Do I have, I'm sure people understand what you're talking about. That pressure of I've got to have. And at the same time, you're just trying to live your life, trying to stay, on the straight and narrow. And these are the things that I realized in my practice that are pulling a lot of women down into depression. But the biggest one I realized was relationships. Those are the ones that were really pulling a lot of people down, a lot of women especially. Not very many guys would come for therapy, and I don't know whether, are there any guys out there? Whether it is because I'm too macho to talk about these feelings, or whether it is just we use a Eurocentric model, which is the one-on-one, which is not the way we do it. It's not the way naturally we do it as a community. But I'd be really interested in finding out why there are not that many guys. So the journey started way back then, and that is what has brought me here, where I just have this passion for people on the continent, Africans, to do mental wellness our way in terms of first of all coming to accept that we've got issues that we need to deal with. And it is not about whether I'm a man or a woman or a child. There are some things that we need to break within our own cultures on the continent that bring our mental health down, our mental wellness down, and we need to address those issues. Let me give you an example. I know one of the things that has really stressed a lot of women is marriages, the whole polygamy, the whole serial marriages. I know that has stressed a lot of women because there are a lot of women being kicked out of their homes as the first wives. However, traditionally we used to have polygamy. However, there was a way in which it was done, very respectfully done. And I've spoken to children from polygamous families. Quite a number of those marriages worked then. But this is a 21st century, almost like a Western model of polygamy, where you can have a mistress here and a mistress there and a mistress here and a mistress there. But what's happening is it's going above being a mistress. You're also getting married to them. So you're having families all over the place. You're having children all over the place. Of course, this is affecting the children. Of course, this is affecting, the women in society. And of course, it's affecting the man. I mean, that can't be easy to juggle, And that is not to say that women are also not doing stuff. Yeah. They are doing stuff. And I just want to tell people, just stop it, because we are destroying the family. So the mental wellness of the family is just exploding, because if we cannot come back to our framework within the home, where we're meant to find some peace, some solitude, where are we going to go in terms of finding rest and what's the word?
Rejuvenation?
Where refilling. Yeah. So some of the other things that happen on the continent that we actually need to look at is the fact that we do experience mental problems. Period.
Men and women.
Men and women. That is, and children, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And they're starting now at the age of 9 years old. Did you know that? They're starting younger and younger, and they're getting depressed. What does that say about what's going on in the community? Now I've lost my train of thought. It's okay. I was talking about we need to face the truth that if the body can get sick, get hurt, so can the mind. We build too many stories around why there is mental illness, and a lot of it is tied around witchcraft, is tied around all kinds of funny myths, traditional myths. It's tied around, we don't talk about those things, even though I know so and so is abusing that particular child. I can't talk about it. The child can't talk about it. We can't talk about those things because we have been told, or the way we've been brought up is that we can't. And yet that is the baggage that we end up carrying. And if we carry this baggage and we do not find a safe place to where we can talk about our hurt, because those are psychological scars, and we get more psychological scars than we do physical scars.
Yeah, it's true.
The thing is, we cannot see what's inside. So we need to start breaking that stigma. People on the continent, Africans, stop it. It's time for us to start saving our own people by accepting the fact that the mind will get ill because of the things that we experience. And if we don't, we're going to lose more and more people. More people are going to go into depression. More people are going to have breakdowns. More people are going to get mental illnesses, because there is it's on a spectrum. You don't have to go all the way to get a clinical depression, for example, because you have the physiological side of things and then you have the situational side of things. Let us do what we can in the situational side of things, where we start learning how to talk and prevent, and not wait for us to get to that point of no return. Because by then it has gotten into clinical.
The clinical stage.
Absolutely.
Wow. It seems to me that what you're saying is mental, shall we say, instability begins when people are not able to actually freely express themselves. Just talk and share what's on their mind, and have that responded to in a way that is constructive.
It is about being able to talk about the emotional, the painful things that have affected us. It's just that you cannot see the way you see a cut or a broken bone.
Yes.
If we cannot talk about those things, where are they going?
Inside. The place, right?
Yeah.
Don't you agree? I mean, the place where you're told, just be strong, just get it together.
Exactly.
Be a man.
Exactly.
And what's wrong with you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a woman must know how to manage her house, and so you don't really have somebody who you can turn to and tell, this has hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what to do.
And I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I just can't. And I'm glad you brought up the thing about be strong. I tell people, you know what? Forget about being strong. How are you being strong? Because we tell people, don't cry. God gave us tears for a reason. We tell people, don't cry. When our little one starts crying, many of us are in a hurry to stop them from crying, but they're actually expressing the pain and the hurt that's going on inside. So the whole talk of be strong, how is the be strong going to help me if I cannot express the pain, the hurt, those scars then pile up on top of each other? That then becomes our baggage. We've not been able to heal it because we have not been able to bring it out and put it on the table in a safe place. It's always in a safe place.
Yeah, don't just blab to
don't just blab to anyone and everyone, because there are also some very, very sensitive issues, like where there's been child abuse, or where there's been you're continually being raped, or where there's been a bereavement. All these things affect us emotionally when we can't bring it out in a safe place without throwing things at people. We've got to learn basically how to bring out those scars before they become irreversible.
Wow. How does one recognize the signs of
First of all, if you when you're carrying a lot of stress, you will start to your body starts telling you stuff.
Yes.
So if it's work stress, you know that you can find a way of managing. You can try and manage it. But if you're carrying stress that comes from, say, continually being beaten up, a child continually being abused, you're continually going hungry, you're continually, if there's so much stress and you haven't gotten a way of de-stressing, a safe, healthy way of de-stressing, we're not talking about turning to alcohol, turning to sex, turning to drugs, turning to drugs. You've got to find a healthy way of dealing with that stress, because the more and more and more it gets, the more and more your mind starts becoming affected. And if you're not releasing that stress, what happens is it turns inward. And if it's been extremely painful situations, the thing about depression is you've got a layer of depression here, then you've got anger here, and then you've got powerlessness and helplessness. It means then you're getting yourself to a place where you will not have the energy to do anything. And that's one big thing about depression. It pulls you down and isolates you where you don't have, I can't do it. Yeah. And then the negative messages, I can't do it. I'm useless. I can't deal with this. I can't. So, find a way of dealing with that stress before it gets to that point of, I can't deal with this. I can't cope. Find your voice, please. Just find your voice and talk to somebody.
Wow, I'm beginning to understand. You were sharing, I'm Alaska again too, some statistics about women.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to understand why you say it affects women more, because women have a way of just saying, okay, I don't have help here. I have an attacker here. I have this I need to deal with. This has to get done. It all feels like it's too much, but there's no way to let it out, and they just go inwards.
Absolutely.
And you'll see them go quiet. You'll see them be efficient and effective at doing everything that they're doing, but inside.
Yeah.
And you won't know unless there's an explosion or a death.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there were some figures that you shared about over the years, how you saw, was it suicides?
Suicides, yeah. The depression just sort of going up and up and up. I did a piece of research on women and mental health disorders. It was actually in Africa, but I carried it out in Kenya. And we had focus groups, encounter groups, discussions and everything. And when I analyzed it, the first group started quite low, which was 22 to 25%. That was in 1998. Then from there, I did it again in 2014. And it had gone up to 35%. Then I did it again in 2018. And by now, it had really, really shot up. But the men's numbers were lower. And I believe it's because maybe they don't come out as much as women do, and have different coping mechanisms. But I also realized that even though the women's depression rates were going up, it was tied in very much with relationships, handling those relationships, especially the intimate relationships, the marriages. Then it came to having to juggle work, having to juggle children, having to juggle, etc., etc. Juggling in urbanization. But I also realized what also came out was the way women are now dealing with the depression, or when they're extremely stressed out, is alcohol. That is going higher and higher. There are more and more and more women who are taking to drink. It used to be that women would hide themselves when they're drinking, but there are more and more women who are becoming affected by alcohol in terms of alcohol dependency. But I'm not saying that there aren't men who are not suffering from depression, because they are. I just don't have those figures, because I know that they are lower. In fact, around the world, they're lower. But I don't have those statistics. And basically, it is about people not being able to talk, and just you carry on doing, because that's how we have been brought up, to not think or not feel. Actually, I would say not feel, but go do what you have to do and get on with it. So it's not a surprise when you suddenly hear, which we've seen a lot in the papers, in the news, that man took his family, went down to the river, killed them, then killed himself. In fact, there was a situation out in Gong where that actually happened. So there are cases around where what you see is the end result. Yes. I can't cope anymore. Yes. So this is the way I'm doing it. Yes. And you take your whole family. There are quite a number of youths who are committing suicide as well. Mm-hmm. But it is, why are they committing suicide? It's obvious they can't cope. The stress levels have become too much. And that has now become a mental health issue. But I don't know, we haven't made the connection in terms of helping these young people especially build resilience skills. But if we cannot talk about not managing emotionally, how can we then build resilience skills?
You can't. I mean, the whole structure is cracked on the inside. Exactly. So anything you place on it will eventually destroy it. Yeah. You can't. I mean, we have to come to terms with the fact that we are a three-part being: physical, and then we have a spirit, and we have a soul. And that soul is divided into three: mind, will, and emotions.
Yes.
And if you're going to feed yourself, and you're going to exercise, you're going to bathe yourself, then what about your mind? What about your emotions? What about your desires? What are you doing with those, right?
Absolutely.
For balance's sake. And it's not about overindulgence in any one thing.
No.
So what's happening with the youth in Africa?
I think they've just become so overwhelmed. But also, you see, they're at the receiving end of urbanization, in terms of, if you look at their families, their parents. Many of us parents have become totally workaholic, because we want to make that money. And for quite a large percentage, they want the car, they want the big house, they want, there's no time left for the young children. And as they grow up, there are a lot of parents who are leaving the children to pretty much grow up on their own, even though they've got the drivers, they've got the nannies, they're going to some of the best schools. But at the end of the day, the child needs you there. You are their significant other in this world. And if you're not going to be there to support them as they grow, especially emotionally, they miss out on a lot. So I believe that the youth have been affected by the absence, our parents are not being accessible to the children. And if you're not being accessible, where are they going to access those people who are going to show them the way? Whatever that way might be, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is what's happening to the youth. And it has become so materialistic, because I believe that most of us parents, when we don't have the time, we give material stuff. So a lot of the youth have become materialistic, and I want it now, and I want it today. That is what is the reality of a lot of the urbanites, a lot of the youth.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, there are no jobs. It's just become a mess because of this fast living that we've gotten into, and there's no time to stop and just I want to spend time with my family. After all, I am going out. Who am I working for? Why am I working? Why do I have this big house which I never spent time in? What is that all about? I don't even know my children. And during this COVID time, what happened was like, hey, you know what? You're all going to stay locked in. You're going to know who's who. That is your child. You're going to get to know, and that is your wife, and that is your home. You're going to get to know.
It's true. And if you don't like it, it's because of the seeds you planted or did not plant.
Absolutely.
You can't go anywhere else to look for the cause.
No, you can't.
It's your home and your family.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we need to take responsibility for those little ones that we have brought into this life, so that when they grow up knowing that, you know what, these are the life values. You know, what are our legacies going to be? How are our children going to remember us? You know, if I cannot remember what it was about mom or about dad or about shosho, whoever it is that I've grown up with, where am I going to get my values? I know that as Christians, we've got the Word and we've got our Father and we've got Jesus and stuff. But what about those who don't even have that grounding, that framework? How are they going to survive in this life? That is again where the mental health comes in. It all comes back to, like you're saying, we are not just, we've got three different parts to us, and they all need to be fed, and we need to find that balance. Not just think about the outward, but the spirit, my inner spirit needs to be fed, and that comes from, that's what affects here. If it's not being fed.
So, just thinking about our young people here in Africa, there's been sort of like a rise and an increase in what are now called social media influencers.
Oh boy, yes.
Courtesy of, I think, the Kardashians, and then there are people now on the continent who decided I can be like that.
Yes.
And they seem to be gathering huge followings from young people and imparting what are their values and perspectives to them. So this is one place where people are going to for help and counsel. What would be the effects of that?
I think it's very sad, but that is what is happening within our community. If you're not there to give guidance, and to teach children how to be wise, it has to come out somewhere else. And where will they turn to? A lot of the young people have turned to social media. I mean, they are social media gurus. There's nothing wrong with social media. It's just that you have to be wise in how you use it, and what you pick up from it, and how you get hooked or not hooked. For a lot of the young people, they look to social media to assure them. There's another word I'm trying to think of, to make them okay, to show them what is being done around the world. These are the values, these are the, consequently you get the different kinds of dress, the different kinds of lifestyles. You also get, the whole going on and showing yourself off so that you can get likes, and that makes your spirit feel good. But it's very, very temporary, and you can actually get hooked onto that, but it's not doing anything for you. It will lift that low self-esteem for a little while, only for a little while, but then you gotta go back. That's why people like the likes. You know, those ones who put just selfies of myself here.
Yes.
Of course, selfies are of myself, but those there are individual selfies that just want likes.
Yes.
And then it makes you feel good. I mean,
it's like a drug.
It is like a drug. You've noticed there are certain people who just keep doing this, and it's like, oh no, here they are again. And you know, I'm like this, and I'm like that, and I'm like this, and I'm getting all these likes. Okay, so that is so artificial. It doesn't do for a proper, true relationship with these people that you're putting out. But that's all you have. You don't have that sit down with friends, sit down with buddies, let's have a chat. It's all artificial. So even in all that, there is a lot of loneliness. And again, loneliness affects your mental wellness because there's a longing for something in here within ourselves to connect with people. But also when you're looking at the Kardashians, you're looking at it is not realistic again.
Kim Kardashian's body is not realistic at all. And you know the surgeries she's had. So what are you aspiring to be like?
It is, what are you aspiring to be? You know, it's like, let's be real. Let's be concrete. Let me be able to see, speak to, be able to break down in front of this person because I am hurting. And be given wise counsel and, you know. So the social media, even though it's putting us in touch with the rest of the world, in many ways, you have to be so wise about what you do when you are on social media in terms of why am I on whatever? Why am I on Instagram? What am I putting on Instagram? What on the net? Which websites am I surfing? What do I want out of it? Because now you can access everything, and we know that all that stuff is not necessarily good for you. You can access all the porn, and children have been accessing them actually much younger. I've had quite a number of friends who are coming to me and saying, oh yeah, my daughter is 16 years old and there's porn on her phone. So you see, they've also got access to phones and everything. So now the world is open to them. I can access whatever I want to access, which is, I just see it as the enemy. I really do. But we need to be able to be wise where we go, how we go, because there are also predators around, you know, for both the young people, whether they're girls or boys, whatever. But bottom line is, a lot of the social media stuff for the young people, for the youth, is not realistic. It is all artificial. And that is because we are not there to actually say, hey, hold on. What are you still doing? It is 11 o'clock at night, you're still on social media. I have provided the Wi-Fi, but I'm not there to guide, to show them how to use it properly. So I have provided it, I've taken off, I've left them to do whatever they want to do. And that's how you find young people disappearing, and you wonder where they disappeared. They've connected with somebody on Facebook. You know, so it is, we need to be very, very careful.
Because there are several things that are coming out for me based on what you've been saying. Is that mental health and wellness is dependent on firm grounding in your identity, who you are, relationships, healthy ones, where you get to see what a good relationship and interaction with somebody is, feedback and you know, critique, but you know, in a loving way, and also being able to turn to somebody who you can trust to be able to express yourself.
Absolutely.
And learning from someone who has been there how to walk the journey of life and to navigate all the traps and all the pits that are around. And without that, which is what you're describing now in the case of the youth, and even in the case of their parents, without that, things are just destabilized.
Absolutely.
So how do we
How do we turn it around? I think we need to start with us parents, understanding that we need to change. I know it's going to be pretty difficult, but we need to be accessible to our children. We need to show them that the path that we have, we need to show them what road to go down on that is going to be best for them. We've got to guide them, yeah? We've got to guide them. But we also have to learn proper ways of dealing with issues. We have to learn how to deal with our stress and then how to deal with the issues that we are faced with, because those come out onto our families, onto our children, onto our colleagues, we've got to learn, because that again leads into you're becoming mentally ill. It leads to depression. It leads to, one thing leads to another. It leads to alcoholism. It leads to, all that. It's just a trigger. And the children are watching. The young people are watching how the folks are dealing with this stuff. And if they're not watching you, they're watching in the movies that they download, or they are watching. Okay, if mom and dad are not there, sure, okay, I could do it this way and I could do it this way. Most of the time, it is not healthy. Unless you go on those sites that are healthy, that actually talk about how to get off alcohol and drugs. Do you know what I mean? But most of the time, when people are surfing the net, the youth, it's usually for fun. It is.
Yeah, it's true.
It's usually for fun, and that is very misleading. So the parents need to come to terms with, whether we like it or not, our children, our young people need us. Yeah, they need us.
Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Get in touch with your emotional intelligence. We need to come to terms with the fact that your health, your mental wellness, how good it is going to depend on you, and whether or not you are ready to just grow emotionally, so that you can start dealing with issues the right way and to become more resilient. That doesn't mean that things will not stop happening, like the natural life events, but try and learn how to prevent too much damage done by building resilience skills. Yeah.
As you can see, this is really just the introduction to this conversation. Thankfully, Shibero knows what she's doing. So I would invite you to visit shibero.com and also to visit her YouTube channel. We'll put both of those links below this video, and also you can find her in our featured videos on this channel, so that you can explore further the thinking behind mental wellness and find a way to gauge your own current state. Because when we are strong in body, in mind, in emotion, in relationships, Africa is strong.
Amen.
And so which helps you understand then the strategy to destabilize us in those individual places is a strategy overall to destabilize Africa. We will never be able to build a beautiful Africa, and we can build a beautiful Africa.
Absolutely.
So you need to know it's not a hopeless case. It is actually recoverable.
Absolutely.
And people like Shibero are here to help you. So just do some more research on the topic. Find out some more, visit her website, and if you like, reach out to her and start to explore what's going on in your own life.
Yes.
You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your family. You owe it to current and future generations.
Absolutely.
So take the time to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for taking time to watch this video, and thank you for listening to the ideas that were shared here. We pray really that it's a blessing to you.
Yes.
Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you can get notifications of future videos that will come out. So God bless you, and thanks again, and see you next time.